Round 1 of the 2025 NFL Draft is in the book, so we're going to go through my draft grades after round 1 here on Saints Now by Chat Sports. Welcome into today's program. We already put out a video where I had an instant reaction to the selection of Kelvin Banks Jr., the offensive lineman from the Texas Longhorns. But if you guys want to get more content, I encourage you to subscribe, like the video, and tune into our live show tomorrow. We're going to be live for day 2. A lot of crazy stuff could happen. Shedeur Lentz? Who knows? He's still an option. But I want to just start things off by saying I grade the Kelvin Banks Jr. selection. I graded a B+. I personally think that this selection wasn't the best thing in the whole wide world. Is it sexy? No. Is it something that's going to sell jerseys and put butts in seats? Absolutely not. But does it make sense? Sure. That's why I'm going with a B+ grade for Kelvin Banks. And although I do believe the Saints should have addressed pass rush or pass catcher, or maybe even pass rusher, there's a lot of needs for New Orleans in round 1 of the 2025 NFL Draft. However, I do think that Kelvin Banks is a player that is very highly respected. Steve Sarkisian, the head coach for the Texas Longhorns, says if you want to know what it means to be a Texas Longhorn, you look at Kelvin Banks. He is a model of what we like to do in our program, and he's a player that the NFL Network Draft Profile shouts him out for being technically sound and scrappy in the ground game with the quickness and the athleticism to get to all move blocks. He has the slide quickness to deal with speed rushers. He consistently dips and drives his hips into his opponents to create leverage, and he's battle-tested. He's played against a lot of good competition. He's played at a very high level, and fun fact, the Atlanta Falcons selected James Pierce Jr., and they also selected Jalen Walker. And Kelvin Banks, he only allowed 2 pressures against the Georgia Bulldogs, and they have a really good defense, so the fact that he was able to put up some good numbers against a quality defense to me says, hey, that's a good football player. And again, I don't think it was a sexy pick, but Kellen Moore and Mickey Loomis, they hinted that their belief and their philosophy is to build from the inside out. So that's why we started with the trenches. And PFF graded him out really, really well. Only 1 sack allowed last season on the Texas Longhorns. He had 1 sack allowed, 2 hits, 7 hurries. He had 7 flags as well. He's only 21 years old. And some people will see him as a guard, but I do think that the weaknesses can actually be better covered up as a tackle. And I do think that Kellen Moore should be open to the possibility of playing Kelvin Banks as a tackle. As we know, the Saints did not pick up the 5th-year option for Trevor Penning. They did pick up the 5th-year option for Chris Olave. However, at the offensive line position, there's a lot of holes. We don't know what the option is at left guard. Is Dylan Radins or is Nick Saldiveri going to be the starter? What about with the tackle position? Is it going to be Talese Fuaga and Trevor Penning? Is it going to be Fuaga and Kelvin Banks? What are we going to do here? Those are things that the New Orleans Saints have to figure out, and that's the beauty of the training camp part of the offseason. That you get to figure out where you're going to put this player in. He is versatile, and he has the ability to be a good football player. Our draft expert, Tom Downey, had a 1st/2nd round grade on him. He was the top offensive tackle available, but Tyler Warren was on the board. You had the ability to go get maybe Colston Loveland. You had the ability to go get Jahad Campbell, Jalen Walker, Mykel Williams. There's a lot of options out there, so obviously I can understand why Saints fans may have a lower grade than I do. However, I think this was a position in need. I think this is a good addition. And Kelvin Banks at left tackle, Talese Fuaga at right tackle, I think that's a great way to start the rebuild for the New Orleans Saints, at least on the offensive side of the football. And we'll have to see what happens in terms of the offensive side of the football. Is Shedeur Sanders in play? Who knows? Is Jaden Higgins? Is Trey Harris? Mason Taylor? Those are all options that are available. But I think when you talk about how the board fell and you talk about what the New Orleans Saints were interested in, there's a lot of speculation around quarterback, wide receiver, tight end, pass catcher, offensive lineman, defensive lineman. There's a lot of speculation. But at the end of the day, we ended up with Kelvin Banks, and I think that it was a good pick. Again, I don't think it's the sexy pick, but I think it was the necessary pick. And I'm going to tell you more about Kelvin Banks. I'm going to tell you more why I think this is a B+ grade here in just one moment. But today's show would not be made possible if it weren't for our awesome friends over at Chubbies. Guys, look at this shirt. It's so fresh. You got what? You got the fleur-de-lis. You got a Mardi Gras mask. You got some king cake. You got a trumpet. You got a crawfish, pot of gumbo. I mean, this shirt is absolutely awesome. It's super, super sweet. And I know that you're going to love the rest of the collection at Chubbies Shorts. You can get 20% off the entire original selection with our code CHAT at chubbyshorts.com. Fellas, the springtime and summer is here. You know what that means. Skies out, thighs out, and it's time to let those puppies breathe. Whether you're playing a round of golf with the squad, hitting up a beer garden, or visiting an actual garden with your lady friend. Chubbies has you covered for all of the good vibes that warm weather brings. So at the end of the day, your wardrobe deserves a springtime upgrade. So to sweeten the deal for a limited time, Chubbies is giving our listeners at Saints Now 20% off your order with exclusive code CHAT. That's CHAT at chubbyshorts.com. Guys, this wouldn't be a true ad read if we didn't mention Chubby's Classic Line swimsuit collection. I mean, they are amazing. They're so comfortable. I wore these swimsuits the entirety of my travel all last summer, took them to Mexico, took them to Arkansas, took them to Florida, and I'll tell you what, not only did they withstand the elements, they were comfortable, they made me look good, and they made me feel confident when I was out there. Whether you're squeezing out as many beach days as possible before the winter or swimming laps at the gym, our ultra-vibrant trunks will build your confidence, and they're built to last. With quick-drying 4-way stretch fabric, it's the best damn swim trunks humankind has ever created. So if you like the polo, guess what? They have it available in swim trunks. Again, the code that we're going to give you, chubbyshorts.com/chat, use code CHAT. It doesn't apply to the NFL collection, but pick up a polo and then go and get yourself a pair of the classic khakis and get another swimsuit, and you can get that part for 20% off. And I promise you, you're going to love your investment. chubbyshorts.com/chat. Link is in the comments and description of this video. And guys, don't blend in with the crowd. Stand out with Chubbies. And let's talk about a player who could potentially stand out on the offensive line. Kelvin Banks, again, I'm going to just continue to say it. It's not the sexy pick, but it's the necessary pick. The offensive tackles since 2000, listen to this. The New Orleans Saints have taken, since 2015, Andrus Peat, Ryan Ramczyk, Trevor Penning, Talese Fuanga, and Kelvin Banks. That's 5 offensive tackles since 2015. They're investing in the O-line. I understand the importance of investing in the offensive line, but I also understand it's more important to hit on those investments. Now, Dane Brugler of The Athletic, I think he does a great job of doing some draft analysis. He said that Kelvin Banks doesn't have ideal length and needs to improve his sustained tactics to be a consistent finisher against NFL talent. But he has controlled footwork and depth in his pass sets, plus the fundamental know-how to fit and leverage blocks and keep defenders occupied. I'm not going to try and sit here and convince you that this was the best pick the Saints could have made. Was it? Maybe. Maybe not. But I can tell you right now, when it comes to day 2, it makes me really excited because I think offensive line has been addressed. I think you can wait. And of course, I love the idea of like a Tate Ratledge at guard. But I also think you don't have to go and get offensive line now. So the draft can truly be fun. You can go get Shedeur Sanders. You can go get, Jackson Dart got taken. You can go get Jaden Higgins, Trey Harris, Mason Taylor. Will Johnson is still available. There's a lot of good options out there on the board. And to be totally honest, I just want to see the New Orleans Saints make a good investment. I want to see them make a good pick here. And really quick, before we get to this grade the pick, can we just take a look at the updated offensive line depth chart? Because I want to get the Who Dat Nation informed. I want to make sure y'all understand what to expect and what things could look like for the New Orleans Saints moving forward under Kellen Moore's first year running the offense. Again, Kellen Moore specifically said, and Mickey Loomis specifically said, I should say, that him and Kellen Moore believe you build from the inside out. And this is doing that. Kellen Moore just won a Super Bowl with the Eagles, and that was their philosophy. You also saw that the Saints needed offensive line help. And so maybe you go get Tate Ratledge, maybe you go get Marcus Bow, maybe you go get Wyatt Milam or one of these other options on the board. There's a lot of good offensive guards available, but I do think when it comes to New Orleans Saints, I want to see them invest in a pass catcher. I want to see them invest in a defensive lineman. I want to see them go and get something fun on day 2. So grade the pick for me, Saints fans. A, B, C, D, or F. Get down in the comment section. Just so you guys know what the updated offensive line depth chart should look like, I expect it to be either Trevor Penning or Kelvin Banks, and then Dylan Radins at left guard, Eric McCoy at center, Cesar Ruiz at right guard, and then right tackle should be Talese Fuanga. Guys, thank you so much for tuning into today's show. Subscribe for more Saints coverage. We're going to be live at 5 p.m. Central Time tomorrow. Just diving into day 2 of the 2025 NFL Draft. We'll give you updated draft big board tomorrow morning. We're going to go through the top players available, and we're going to have even more content all throughout the weekend. So Who Dat Nation, thank you so much for tuning in. Y'all stay golden. For me, for my guy Nick Lopez, we'll see you next time.